Hey folks, if you're enjoying this live stream, be like the Fonz and give it a thumbs up. Hey.
Instead of a second season for Battlestar Galactica, we got this, Galactica 1980, a show so bad that although there were efforts to make sure that nothing in this show contradicted Season 1 of Battlestar Galactica, many fans refused to consider this thing as canon. And yes, Adama was back, but everyone else was gone. Apparently the budget for the new program, which would reuse Season 1's special effects, was so low that they just simply couldn't afford anyone. Take a look at the TV Guide promo for the premiere of Galactica 1980 and then compare it against the exquisite artwork that was commissioned for those first few episodes of Battlestar Galactica. And it is clear that the budget restrictions also impacted the show's marketing efforts. And I've just got to say that flying motorcycles and Space Scouts, well, they didn't help much either. And then the kid from the Brady Bunch shows up. I'm not going to blame Cousin Robbie Rist at all here. It wasn't his fault, not even close. He wasn't half bad as Dr. Z, but still the show's episodes really felt dumbed down from what we were used to with Battlestar Galactica. The one exception to that was Galactica 1980's final episode titled The Return of Starbuck. It was a return to form. A pretty great story and a fitting swan song for this ill-fated TV series. I actually saw this episode years later when it was included in a Battlestar Galactica syndicated package. It was such a great episode that I didn't realize it had been part of Galactica 1980. Alright, now it's your turn. What do you think? Were you a fan of the original Battlestar Galactica? And what did you think of Galactica 1980? Let me know in the comments section, and while you're at it, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and maybe, just maybe, consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Here are a few of my favorite podcasts that you can watch right here on YouTube. Ike Eisenman from Disney's Escape to Witch Mountain series and author Jonathan Rosen take an affectionate look back at pop culture from yesteryear. They share memories, have great discussions, and conduct interviews with people who were involved in some of the most beloved classics from the past. They even asked me to join them a couple of weeks ago, and I had a great time visiting with these fellers. Look for that episode to debut in a couple of weeks. What's a glitter boom girl? Well, I'm not sure, but I sure do love their podcast. Authors Amy Asbury and Robbie Ann McPherson take an affectionate, loving deep dive into 70s and 80s nostalgia, revisiting everything from childhood toys, teen idols, TV shows, and even TV dinners. Yep, all the stuff that made the 70s and 80s so darn special. Over the past handful of years, the Batcave podcast has taken a look at each and every episode of the 60s Batman TV series. Host John S. Drew celebrates the great and looks to see where the show went wrong as it slid into oblivion during its third and final season. These days, John is also reviewing episodes of the animated series as well as shows like Electro Woman and Dyna Girl. And every week I like to jump on the BK Escape Pod. That's a podcast version of BK on the Air, which airs live every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time. But you know what? BK stands for Barry King, and this guy knows his stuff. And the podcast, if you listen to it on YouTube, he intersperses it with all sorts of fun, retro nostalgia audio clips. And if you've been watching any of the videos on my channel lately, you know that I've been listening to the Real Brady Bros podcast. The Real Brady Bros are Barry Williams and Christopher Knight, and they have a great time visiting and recapping iconic Brady Bunch episodes every week. Good stuff. Folks, I'll drop the link to all of these podcasts in the description section of this live stream. I would definitely recommend checking out some or all of these podcasts. They are so good, each and every one of them. And if you find yourself enjoying one of them, well, click on that subscribe button. That's how you'll know when a new episode is published to YouTube. Alright, now back to more retro TV programming.
Thursday on a special 2-hour Buck Rogers, a sorcerer plots to conquer the Earth. His weapon, an army of slave women, and it's up to Buck to stop him.
I've got a reputation to uphold too, you know.
Starring Gil Gerard with Jack Palance and returning to action, Buster Crabbe, Buck Rogers, Thursday.
Ever wonder what happens when you click on that little join button and become a super fan of the channel? Well, the thing that you might notice right away is that I do my best to prioritize your comments and respond to them first. It's the very least that I can do. And if you stick around for a while, you'll probably also discover the channel member updates. These are exclusive videos that I do 2 to 3 times a month. And we have exclusive live streams from time to time. Not every month, but at least a couple of times each quarter. But more than anything else, you have my total appreciation. I know it's only a couple of bucks, but it takes effort to click on that join button and express your support in that unique way. 1977 was a pretty darn good year if you're a fan of science fiction. You see, a little film you may remember called Star Wars hit movie theaters hard in May of that year, and because of that movie's success, TV networks were eager to entice viewers with a slice of their own sci-fi pie when the fall season debuted. One of the shows that I instantly fell in love with was Logan's Run, starring Gregory Harrison, Heather Menzies, and Donald Moffat. Wait, these aren't those actors. That's because it was based on a movie that debuted a year earlier in 1976 to modest success. Although I wanted to see it, I hadn't been able to see that movie mainly because no one else in my family wanted to go. So I had to satisfy my curiosity about the show in other ways. First there was the comic book version. Thank you, Marvel. Thank you very much. From there I migrated to the actual novel that the movie was based on. As with most books that are translated to film, the novel contained a much larger world with a vastly expanded story. So let's get back to the TV series. The first episode was kind of like a mini version of the film, although there were some major differences in the plot. Logan's friend and fellow Sandman Francis, well, he pursues Logan and Jessica in the movie because of a sense of duty as well as a feeling of being betrayed by Logan. In the TV show, however, Francis becomes corrupt with the idea that he might be able to live beyond the age of 30 if he is able to capture Logan and Jessica so that they can be reprogrammed. Additionally, a new character, an android named Rem, played by Donald Moffat, is introduced. Kind of felt like Rem was added to take advantage of the popularity of Star Wars' prim and proper protocol droid, C-3PO. And at first, at least to a 13-year-old kid, it seemed like Logan's Run was going to be a bigger hit on TV than it was on the silver screen. Everywhere I turned, it seemed like I was running across a magazine with the show on its cover. Even Dynamite magazine had Logan's Run on its cover, a sure sign of a show's popularity. And it absolutely did not hurt that the show had a true beauty in it. Heather Menzies, yep, you're right, she's one of the kids from The Sound of Music. Anyway, Heather was amazing on this show. More specifically, regardless of what sort of peril that she, Logan, and Rem might be facing, her hair was amazing. It never seemed to even get messed up in the slightest. Not a single strand out of place. And there were plenty of amazing adventures during the show's one and only season. In fact, saying that the show had a full season is, well, it's incorrect. Although 14 episodes were in the can, only 11 were ever broadcast by CBS before they made the decision to pull the plug. All 14 episodes are available, however, to watch now. You can stream them on Amazon or purchase the complete series on DVD, at least until it goes out of print. I've put links in the video description if you're interested in going back and watching some classic sci-fi. And I know there are critics out there that will say, classic sci-fi? Okay, I will concede it wasn't the greatest show ever made. But it did have some pretty talented people involved. In fact, all three of the folks pictured above, David Gerrold, D.C. Fontana, and Harlan Ellison, were involved in Star Trek. And then later on, Gerrold and Fontana were heavily involved in another favorite of mine, the Saturday morning classic Land of the Lost. Anyway, talented people for sure. As you might expect with these kind of folks involved, there were some pretty darn interesting ideas that were conveyed over the relatively short lifespan of this show. It's just too darn bad that, just like networks today, CBS didn't have enough faith in this show to give it the time necessary to hit its stride. Some things never change. So that's it. Do you remember Logan's Run? The TV show or the movie? And if so, what did you think? Did you prefer one over the other? Let me know in the comments section below, and while you're at it, please click on the thumbs up icon, and why not consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
The Live Stream Code and Rating Administration has rated this online event PG. All ages admitted. Please be kind and stay on topic.
Good evening to one and all, and welcome to the Good Stuff Live. My name is Dave Sundstrom, and if you enjoy talking about music, movies, mostly TV, from decades gone by, well, you've come to the right place. So I think we're going to have fun tonight. This topic is one of my favorites. I loved science fiction television, especially I titled this one during the 70s and 80s, but I have to admit I do have a preference decades-wise. 70s sci-fi TV movies, for me, was phenomenal. So we're going to talk about that tonight. I want to hear from you guys, and I want to find out what were your favorite shows. But first, what I want to do is make sure I say hello to everybody that's in the chat, everybody that's been hanging out for, well, folks have been in the chat for a good hour or so, and that's awesome. I love to see that level of engagement from this community. And I do see a super sticker, a very patriotic, we got a flag icon there, super sticker that caught my attention right away. Let me see who that's from real quick here. Hang on. Let me get to that super sticker. There it is. From CMAC2, thank you so much for the super sticker. I wish, StreamYard had a way to play like the little animated image that's there. That's bringing such joy to my heart. But thank you so much for the super sticker and the support this evening. Truly appreciated. Let me find just the right way to say thank you. You know what? I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'm going to see it this week. So let's go with this one.
Thank you very much. 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 Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, CMAC2. Certainly appreciate the support and the super sticker this evening. All right. So I see that we have Emily Miller here. So glad you're back from your phone call. But I wanted to make sure she was here when I talk about what we're doing tonight. She's really kind of responsible for the topic in that it more than once has asked for some V trivia. So we're talking about V, the miniseries, which was later turned into a single season TV show as well. But I've got to tell you, Emily, we're going to do trivia, but I only have 5 V questions, and the other 5 questions are 70s and 80s science fiction television. So I only kind of halfway delivered, but hopefully you still enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to doing that trivia later on this evening. But first, we are going to do some talking. I'm going to do some welcoming. I still haven't gotten to that, but we're going to do some talking. And we will also give away a copy of Retro Fan Magazine, which is something I like to do from time to time. But let's say hello to folks. Let's see who we got here. John W's here. He says, remember Quark. Kenneth Wilkinson's here. Superfan Tracy Roth Myers, Mike Silva, Superfan Superplex, Thrash Pondo Ponds. I saw BK on the air was here. I can't find his. Oh, there he is. Hey, BK. Thrash Pondo Ponds, Constance Cherry, Gary Carpenter, Superfan Kevin Davis, Claude Salling, Adrian James, Robot B9. Let's see, Shannon Burns, Danny Staten, who, by the way, had his first live stream yesterday, I believe. He asked me a question about it earlier today. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch the replay, I promise, Danny. Excited to see how that turned out for you. Let's see what else we got here. Tom Lemery's in the house. Welcome. Keith M., good to have you here. Rocket Man, Ben Patterson, Joe Black. Oh, yeah, Danny Staten says, don't know what happened to Pure West. You know what? I didn't do that on the intro tonight because I was running long on the pre-show. Typically, the pre-show runs 10 minutes, and I'd gone over, so I went with the short countdown. But you know what? We'll get to it. Next time, we'll have it back. Yes, everybody hit that thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate that as well. Let's see. Who else is here? Daryl Johnston is here. R.I. Cashbringer is here. Jill Carter, super fan Jill Carter in the house. I believe Jill Carter might be celebrating a birthday either today or we might be off by a day, but the very happiest of birthday to you, Jill. As I certainly appreciate you being a member of this community and for being a super fan and for your support. Thank you so much. Did I see Raja 1938 here? I thought I saw I did. Raja 1938's here. I can't find the comment right now. Doug Dennis is here. Adrian James is here. I probably said hi to Adrian already, but we'll say it again. Let's see. Scrolling through, trying to get caught up. Superfan Dave Claroni's here. Superfan Dominic D is here. Superfan Danny Staten is here. Let's see. Chris Budaracos is in the house. Bruce Fye is here. Sarita Abney's here. That's awesome. We've got 66 people hanging out with us right now. Always fun. Let's see. Anyone else? Golden Rage of TV. Pat McCormack is in the house. Speaking of Pat McCormack, got a little business to discuss here as well. It is highly likely, folks, highly likely, and everything's, of course, subject to change, but highly likely that next week's live stream will be on Wednesday, and that is because Pat McCormack is going to be bringing you a very special live stream next Thursday, and his guest is none other than, wait for it, there you go, Jerry Mathers. I cannot wait for this live stream event, and I am I'm literally waiting in line right now. I'm so excited for that live stream. So kudos to our friend Pat McCormack for getting that lined up, building a relationship with Jerry Mathers to the point where, he can ask Jerry to visit with him on the live stream. And I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. So I would encourage everybody to go ahead and, be a little flexible with us next week. Likelihood, my live stream will be on Wednesday evening with a very special guest. I'm not going to say his name, but I will say he's a Bigfoot hunter. He reviews comic books from time to time. And we're going to be talking about pro wrestling stars or wrestling stars that made the transition to television and movies. So hopefully you'll join us and my unnamed guest, Danny Staten, and for next Wednesday's live stream. And then you'll be flexible enough to wander over to Pat McCormack's Golden Rage of Television YouTube channel next Thursday night to watch him visit with Jerry Mathers. That is going to be an absolute treat. As I mentioned, folks, later on this evening, we'll be giving away this copy of Retro Fan Magazine with Julie Newmar on the cover. It's a good one. So hang out with us for a little bit, and, more details to come on that. All right. Looks like we have another super sticker. Holy cow. Kevin Connor, he's always so supportive of the channel. Thank you so much for that, Kevin. Truly appreciated. Truly, truly appreciated. Let's go with this, since we were talking about sci-fi tonight.
No, I thank you. And again, I thank you.
I do indeed. Thank you, Kevin. You are always such a consistent supporter of the channel. Thanks so much. All right. So, Kevin, you nut? There's another one from you. Thank you, sir. And I'm just going to keep going to the well. I haven't done Spider-Man lately. He's not really science fiction, but I did love Spider-Man during the 70s.
Someone is trying to embarrass me.
Thank you for your support. All right. Let me get here and take that off the screen. Kevin, you're the best. Thanks, buddy. Let's see. Danny Staten really would like to win that magazine tonight. I sure hope you do, Danny. I sure hope you do. And Deborah Battle, welcome to the live stream. Custom God is here as well. Yeah, I guess it's kind of sci-fi. Tracy Rothmeyers, thank you so much for the super sticker. You are very kind as well. Let's do this. Very kind indeed. All right, so let's get going. Let's get going on this topic. We're 21 minutes in, and I surely do appreciate all the super chats, and it's very kind of you all. But let's talk. I want to hear what your favorite shows are, and I'll share mine in a little bit. But let me go ahead and throw this question up on the screen so everybody knows what we're asking. What was your favorite science fiction TV show from the 70s or 80s? So go ahead and put that in. I'm going to share as many of them as I can, but I'm first going to get to Kevin Davis, superfan Kevin Davis, who says, to me, Battlestar Galactica was my main science fiction show before Trek. I love Battlestar Galactica as well, Kevin. It's one of my all-time favorites. I think I ranked Trek just a little bit higher, but holy cow, Battlestar Galactica, it was so epic. The scale of that television show and the actors were all just so wonderful. So I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. I wish I had a Battlestar Galactica. Thank you. I've got to find one of those, but we'll go with this right now. Thanks for your support, Kevin. Truly appreciate it. Let me see if I can get some of these comments here. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to zip through these. Let's see. Buck Rogers from Mike Silva. One of my favorites as well. From the Glenn Larson Production Factory. Let's see. Mike Silva says favorite TV show would be Bionic Woman. Superfan Mike D says first season of Buck Rogers. I have to say that too. Everybody knows if you have seen some of my videos on the channel, you know that I'm not as huge a fan of the second season of Buck Rogers. It just wasn't as much fun. Adrian James says Battlestar Galactica. Superfan Superplex says Space 1999. Pat McCormack says another one of my favorites, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Let's see. Oh, Raja 1938 says The Man from Atlantis. That was a great one. It was the first thing I think I ever saw Patrick Duffy in. Custom God said $6 Million Man. Yeah, awesome show. Lee Majors, he's just so good. Irvin Chatwick says Star Trek: The Next Generation. And superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says Doctor Who. I knew we'd get that sooner instead of later. I'm waiting for a few others here. I saw it early in the chat, but I'm going to let you say it again so that I don't have to scroll all the way back. Let's see. Superfan Emily Miller says, I don't even know what to say. There's just so many. That's true. Here's the deal, though. You can always share a favorite, and your favorite can change tomorrow. John W. says, love Battlestar Galactica, at least the first 9 episodes until it got too campy. Those first few episodes were absolutely the best. Thrash Pondo Pons says Planet of the Apes, another great show that ended far too soon. Ran from September to December of 75, I believe. Kenneth Wilkinson says Space 1999 and Battlestar Galactica. David Thomas says Buck Rogers. Kevin Davis says Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, V, Star Trek The Next Generation. Wow. I mean, that's a list. Mike Silva says Land of the Lost was his favorite Croft show, and there definitely was some science fiction elements to that show. As a matter of fact, we had a lot of people that had worked on Trek, working on Land of the Lost, including David Gerald. Okay, yes, the short run Resler, I'm going to go Resler, 63 says the short run series Planet of the Apes got me into Ape Mania. Yeah, that was a great show. Superfan Dominic D says Bionic Woman and Buck Rogers. Tom, my buddy the Hungry Jerk says Battlestar Galactica. Bruce Fye says Planet of the Apes. Oh, here's a good one. Star Trek, the animated series. I really loved that show as well. And one of the questions tonight in trivia, one of the non-V questions, will be an animated series question. Patrick Harris says Farscape. Was that from the 70s and 80s? I think we might be moving into later decades there. Golden Rage of TV, super fan. Pat McCormick says Amazing Stories. That was a great show. I love those anthology stories like that, where every week it's a new fun story. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of The Twilight Zone. Doug Dennis says Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers, $6 Million Man, Red Dwarf, and Doctor Who. Yeah, both sides of the pond there. You got the US and UK stuff. Super fan. Superplex says, anyone in for Super Train? Does that even count as science fiction? Mike Silva says Wonder Woman. Irvin Chadwick says Picard was the most English Frenchman in the history of sci-fi. David Thomas says, I'm a Star Trek fan. Janet says The Magician, Bill Bixby. I didn't really think of that as sci-fi, but boy, oh boy, did I love that TV show. Hey, Thrash Pondo mentioned The Fantastic Journey. I mentioned earlier in the little video that I showed prior to the beginning of tonight's live stream that I got a chance to visit with Ike Eisenman not too long ago for his podcast. And we talked a little bit about The Fantastic Journey. So hopefully you'll get a chance to catch that podcast. I'll definitely post a link to it when they publish it. It'll be in later on in July. Robot B9 says Battlestar Galactica was okay, but I didn't like their depiction of robots. Okay, fair enough. Gary Carpenter says $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman, Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica. Thrash Pondo says Doctor Who. Daryl Johnson says Star Trek doesn't count. It was only in reruns. Yeah, but it was such a presence in the 70s that I don't blame folks for mentioning it. Doug Dennis says Amazing Stories was amazing. Yes. And James Dye says Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, Space 1999, and Buck Rogers. Love all those shows. Sarita Abney says Star Trek. Chris Barroco says Incredible Hulk. And absolutely that counts. Superfan Emily Miller said, as an only child, I was glued to the TV in the evenings. Loved most science fiction shows. Love hearing kind of the backstory into why we're here, why we love television so much. Thank you so much for sharing, Emily. That's awesome. Thrash Pondo says Space 1999. And Butch Shump says, superfan Butch Shump says Tom Baker, Doctor Who. I loved that version of the Doctor Who as well. The Doctor, his version of the Doctor. And yeah, great one. Let me see right here. I'm going to jump ahead because I see a super sticker and I want to address it. Dave Claroni, thank you. I love that. Like I said, StreamYard's really missing the boat. I can't play the little animation, but hopefully all of you can see it in the chat. And thank you so much for that super sticker, Dave.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. I had to jump ahead, and I've skipped over a bunch of them, but Sakina McMurran mentions The Incredible Hulk as well. And Doug Dennis asks, would it be considered sci-fi? I think there were science fiction elements to it. It's not one you naturally think of. Robot B9 says, Super Train was more like Love Boat on a Train. That's exactly how I would compare it. John W. says, I like Quinn Martin's Tales of the Unexpected. It was an anthology and had a lot of SF in the show, and it sure did. Good one. Great comment. Bruce Fay says Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah, started in 87, if I remember correctly. Let's see. I'm trying to read this comment and understand it. Keith E says, I had to swallow a camera for a gastrological thing, and that's all the doctor mentioned. It was a fantastic journey. That's funny. These days we have cameras going up in us all over the place, don't we, folks? Golden Rage of TV. The super fan Pat McCormick says, I agree with Mr. L. Space 1999. Raja 1938 says, a YouTuber's made animations of Trek The New Generation Voyager in the retro style. I have watched some of these. Yes, they are not only hilarious, but they're great. There's love put into those. You can just feel the love, right? Feel the love. That's what I love about YouTube when you see these kind of things, these creations, these homages. I did a video not too long ago, published a video about when Mr. Spock showed up on a Flintstones commercial for Pebbles, from Post Pebbles cereal, and the creators of the commercial, Post, paid money to Paramount to be able to use all the Star Trek stuff, and it really wasn't Mr. Spock; it was Barney in disguise. But in the comments section of that video, a lot of folks turned me on to something called Stone Trek, which I'd never seen, which was episode kind of Star Trek homage parody done in the style of the Flintstones animation. It's great. Let's see. Thrash Pondo says he's Prussian blue with envy. You're probably talking about Ike Eisenman. I loved The Visit. It's him and Jonathan Rosen, and they really have a great podcast. That Pop Culture Retro podcast is phenomenal. Pat McCormick says Knight Rider, and Adrian James brought up when I was waiting for folks to mention UFO. That show from Jerry Anderson and his production team. That one, that was what they did before Space 1999. That one gave Dave Sundstrom, a young Dave Sundstrom, nightmares, and I was forbidden from watching that. I was not allowed to watch it for a period of time because what would happen is I wouldn't be able to sleep, and I'd be bugging mom and dad. Can I sleep on the floor? Why, you guys? I'm scared. And Dad really didn't enjoy that. Yes. RSler63 says, does anyone remember Beyond Westworld? I remember it because, one, I like the concept, although I don't. I like the first season of the new Westworld that's on HBO, but after that I kind of got done with it. But I like that whole idea, and I like Connie Selica. She's great. Loved her in The Greatest American Hero, and loved her in that, although that show did not last very long. Let's see. I thought I saw a comment about a favorite doctor, John Pertwee, and then it just zipped away from me. There we go. Kenneth Wilkinson said that. I'm going to scroll ahead here a little bit. Robot B9 says Knight Rider was more of an action show. Yeah, but there were some science fiction-y elements to it. That whole idea that a car could talk to you, it was sentient. I would, it's not hardcore sci-fi, but I consider it in the genre. Let's see. Hungry Jerk. Tom says, I consider Star Trek a 70s show. That's when we young kids first discovered the shows. Yeah. For me, it was definitely during the 70s that I discovered Trek. There was a Twilight Zone remake. Superfan Kevin Davis points that out. Oh, yeah. Danny Staten says, so nobody's going to bring up the Croft stuff? Disappointing. Dr. Shrinker, Far Out Space Nuts, Lost Saucer. He's not bringing that up. I'll bring that one up. And Bigfoot and Wild Boy, of course, we've got to talk about that. All great things done by, the Croft stuff, with the exception, in my mind, of Land of the Lost. It wasn't, hardcore sci-fi. Although the more I think about it, there were some interesting episodes of Lost Saucer and Far Out Space Nuts as well. I take it back. Is anybody going to bring up the Filmation stuff it was showed up on CBS on Saturday mornings? We're talking Arc 2, Space Academy, Jason Starkman, all great stuff. Let's see. Oh, here's one that I've heard about, but I've never seen it. Canadian produced The Star Lost. I've heard great things about that. And let's see. Oh, it's In Search Of. I like the Kevin Davis says, I like the music of In Search Of. Yes, I love that show. It was great. Nimoy did a great job of hosting it. Robot B9 says they had a fantastic Voyage animated series. I don't remember that, but that would be awesome to see. Pat McCormack seconds UFO. Yeah. David Thomas says he liked the spoofs of Star Wars on YouTube. I love all the parodies and the homages and the fan films. Adrian James points out the animated Star Trek. Mike Silva says the Tomorrow People. Yeah, that was a good one. Logan's Run TV series. Thanks for mentioning that, Henderson Andre. Oh, and yes, Project UFO. That was a Jack Webb produced TV show in the 70s. Let's see what else we got. Stone Trek. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. And yeah, Quantum Leap makes it into the 80s because it was, I believe it premiered in 89. Superfan Dominic D says, Pop Culture Retro is a great podcast. It sure is. They have Daphne Maxwell Reid on this week, and I've already gotten an idea for a new video to publish based on that conversation. I've always wanted to do one on Daphne Maxwell Reid, but I haven't really been able to come up with, kind of an idea, something that hasn't already been done on YouTube a dozen times. So this will be different. I can't wait. Pat McCormack says Jerry Anderson was a genius. I totally agree. Thunderbirds, UFO, Space 1999. Awesome stuff. Blake 7 says Escalets. Mike Silva says The Tomorrow People is a 1973 classic. And Superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says Small Wonder. Yeah, come on. That was definitely science fiction. The guy invents a daughter, creates his own daughter. Let's see. Rocketman says UFO was such a great series. Scrolling ahead. Oh, yes, I do remember it. I don't know. Was there a science fiction? There was The Lost Empire, which was like a Western science fiction-y kind of thing on cliffhangers. That was the only one in that particular series that I kind of thought was a little bit science fiction-y. Let's see. Oh, Kevin Davis, superfan Kevin Davis, says, check out The Orville, Strange New Worlds, Foundation and For All Mankind. So The Orville's on Hulu. Strange New Worlds is on Paramount Plus. Foundation and For All Mankind, I believe, are on Apple TV. We currently don't have a subscription to Apple TV. We have subscriptions to the other two streaming services. We kind of cycle through the streaming services, but I am absolutely Kevin Davis. I am absolutely loving this third season of The Orville. It has come back even stronger than the first two seasons. I kind of thought season one on Fox of The Orville was him trying to, Seth, what's his name? Seth something or other. I can't believe I can't remember his name. He's the star of the show too, as well as he writes most of the episodes and does a significant amount of creation for the program. But anyway, he was really kind of finding the footing for that show and figuring it out, that nice balance of a little bit of humor, but not too much. And anybody going to help me out with that name? What is his name? Seth what? Come on, people. Help me out. He does Family Guy. Anyway, I keep looking, but no one's coming up with that name for me yet. I know you will. You won't let me down. But The Orville is great. I watched the first two episodes of Strange New Worlds, and I wanted. Maybe I'll try. Seth MacFarlane. Thanks, everybody. I want to love Strange New Worlds. I didn't finish the second season of Picard. I just really feel like Paramount hasn't quite captured the magic of those early Star Trek, Star Trek, The Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine. Those are the magic four for me. And these shows, they just haven't quite captured that magic. Whereas The Orville has for me. That's for me. That's the great thing, right? We can all have differing opinions and no one's wrong. That's the beautiful thing. All right. So we've talked for a while about favorite TV shows from the 70s and 80s. Thanks so much for the great conversation. It's been so much fun to read. I wanted to mention, as long as we are talking about science fiction from the 70s and 80s, I teed this up earlier that superfan Emily Miller had requested some V trivia, and I surely did love V the mini-series. Now, the final battle I wasn't as big of a fan of, and I quickly lost interest in the television series. But I did love that original V mini-series. Thought it was great. Now, Kenneth Johnson was the kind of the brains behind V, and he kind of felt the same way a little bit in that he left. He was involved in V, the Final Battle, the follow-up miniseries, and there was so much involvement from the network and too many hands in the pot, and everybody trying to figure out how to make it even bigger and more of a success and lead into a television series that halfway through the production of the miniseries, he left. And I think it really suffered for that. But I'm going to show a couple of clips from V, a promo, and then some of my memories. And then we'll come back and talk more about V. Then we're going to give away that magazine, watch some commercials, and then we'll do the trivia. All right. Let's do that. Here we go.
Tonight is your chance to see how it all began, to relive the excitement that is V, the most extraordinary miniseries ever. A daring TV journalist struggling to uncover the startling truth behind the aliens' visit to Earth. And a beautiful and brave young scientist fighting for the very survival of the human race. Together, they take you on a fantastic journey to meet the visitors. Prepare yourself for a television event that's out of this world. Prepare for V. Next.
One more here. 1983 was a pretty good year for me. I was finally out of high school, and then there was this little thing. V, the original miniseries, was a major television event, and if you're a geek like I was, like I am, it was freaking awesome. It also didn't hurt that Jane Badler, she's just a classic beauty. It was obvious from the get-go too, at least to me, that there was way more to her than what my naked eye could see. But the original miniseries succeeded not just because of her and the rest of the cast. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was some of the best science fiction television had produced since the gone way too soon demise of Battlestar Galactica after one short season on ABC. This time the network was NBC, and they spared no expense to market the heck out of this thing. This is what I saw when I opened up my TV guide in '83. The original miniseries was a huge success, so I guess it only stands to reason that the following year we got V, the Final Battle. It was good, but not as good, and there were some problems on the set. In fact, they were serious enough that the miniseries creator, Kenneth Johnson, left V, the Final Battle, dissatisfied with the pressure that the network was placing on him to take the story in a direction that he didn't necessarily agree with. Part of that direction was to pave the way for V, the series, which didn't make any sense because the second miniseries had promised some sort of resolution with a final battle. The original miniseries was great, but the real test of time is to ask the question, is it lunchbox worthy? And this time, the answer is a resounding heck yeah. Did you enjoy the original V miniseries as much as I did? If so, tell me why in the comments section below. And while you're at it, I'd love you to click on the thumbs up icon, and I would be honored if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching. We're back. All right. Hey, before we get to talking about V for a little bit, or for a few minutes, I do have another super chat I want to address, which is from community member, avid supporter of the channel, John Collins. He says, as always, thank you so much for what you do. You're like McDonald's. You put warm smiles on the faces of over 120,000 people each day. Awesome. Thank you, John Collins. That comment puts a warm smile on my face. Truly appreciated. Let's see. What do we got for you? We're going to do this.
Why did this have to happen to me? I haven't anything else to live for.
And the winner is Sue Ann Nivens.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Wow, I forgot about the explosion at the end. But yeah, that's exactly what that comment did to me. Brought a smile to my face. Thank you, John. Appreciate all you do for the channel. All right, so let's talk about V a little bit. I'm going to scroll down here and see what we've got. R.I. Cashbringer says, I think the idea for V did not start out as a science fiction project. You're absolutely correct. It started out as being something more on the lines of an allegory for no science fiction, but just for the Nazi occupation of the various countries as they kind of did their march around Europe. And what they did to kind of win the hearts of the people of the various countries, those techniques that they employed. And then, science fiction was such a big deal at the time that there was a thought that, it might be a more effective allegory if we do this with science fiction. And I think it was. David Thomas says, I do like V. Yeah, as do I. And Robot B9 says, V was a very exciting show. Yes, David Thomas says, V was a sci-fi analogy of Nazi Germany. Yep. Space Nazis. Exactly, Rocket Man. Exactly. Hey, have a good night, Pat. Take care. Enjoy yoga. Let's see. I'm going to keep going, scrolling down. Let's see. Robot B9 says, Mark Singer was the star of V. He also played the Beastmaster. Love the Beastmaster. It's a Don Coscarelli movie. One of my favorite directors did Phantasm, McKinney and Company, and the Beastmaster. And there's that joke from the 80s. It was on HBO so much. Steady rotation that there was a comedian at the time that said HBO stood for, Hey, Beastmaster's on. I love that. I'm not going to, they see a comment from Bruce Fye. I don't want to say too much because I've got some trivia questions about, kind of what happened. And that might, I'm going to share it anyway. V was lizards taking over. I think that's okay. I don't want to give away too many answers here. Rocket Man says, love V, great show. No, next Thursday, Lance. Pat and I have swapped spots next week. I'll be on Wednesday, and he'll be on next Thursday with the one and only Jerry Mathers. Yes. What is it? Diane Badler? Jane Badler played Diana. Okay. And Faye Grant played, I can't remember her name now. But yes, they were great. Oh no, we've got to hang on a second. We have got a nasty. I'm going to block this user. We've got a bot saying mean things. Not necessarily mean, just not nice. All right. Okay, let me keep going here. Here's a good one. Martha Welch says, I really like the episodes of the miniseries V. Robert Englund had a great performance. Willie, right? His name was Willie, as the alien in love with the human. He was the kind alien. Chris Bertarocos, this isn't about V, but he says, Dave, the happy meal of entertainment, like Mayor McCheese. That's how I feel. I feel like Mayor McCheese. Definitely not like Hamburglar. Yes, Danny. My son asked me if I needed a moderator tonight. I have him employed as a moderator, and I told him I wouldn't need it because I was keeping an eye on things. But look at that. I did a horrible job of that, Danny. Horrible job. Let's see. Superfan Emily Miller says Diana was misunderstood. Yes. And Dan says he's got the dumb bot. I don't think you do. I haven't given anybody access. Let's see. Well, hopefully the bot has gone by. Superflex says V, the tomato juice. No, not V8. And I missed the comment about V, the remake. But yeah, it was okay, but it just wasn't as good as the original. They did have Diana back, though. Let's see. I didn't even see that Josh sings here. Hey, Josh, have a good night, buddy. Let's see. The aliens in V. Oh, this is definitely giving away the answer to a trivia question. I'm going to stop there. Yes, Thrash Pondo says that's V8, you silly Nilly. And let's see. RSler63 says V was great. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate everybody reporting those bots when they happen. And I think we're going to stop there. I think I'm scrolling back up to see if there's any other comments I want to. Oh, John Collins is asking which magazine is in the contest tonight. Tonight it will be Retro Fan. Next week will be an annual subscription to Remind Magazine. So this July 2022 edition of Retro Fan is a good one. So let's do this. This is a natural stopping spot. We're going to do V trivia. The more we talk about it, actually, the more those questions get easier. And I want to make them somewhat hard for you guys. So we're going to stop here. I'm going to go to commercial. And then, well, I'm not, because I'm going to catch these two super chats. First off, Julie, that was her name. And I always call her Faye Dunaway. I know she's not Faye Dunaway. Hopefully earlier I said Faye Grant. Thank you, superfan Emily Miller, and thank you for the super chat. That was very nice of you. Mike D, thank you for the super sticker as well. Let me do this. Throw a little Andy your way, Andy Kaufman.
Thank you very much. Well, isn't that special?
Thank you, Emily and Mike D. Truly appreciate it. Truly appreciate it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do some commercials, vintage commercials, taking care of our retro vintage sponsors. And then we're going to come back and we're going to give away that edition of Retro Fan Magazine. And then we'll play some trivia. So here we go. Let's see. Where is that? There we go.
Tonight on B, Diana summons a master assassin.
I eat what I catch.
But will she choke on the main course? And Hunter rubs a suspect the wrong way and ends up in the joint, a marked man. Then on Miami Vice, it's
game time. Tonight.
Jane Seymour in Le Jardin de Max Factor.
Le Jardin.
They say romance is back in style. I say it never went out. Le Jardin says it too. It says it subtly. It says it softly. Because if you want romance to come on strong, you have to come on soft.
Le Jardin de Max Factor, the incurably romantic fragrance.
Little sharps, big sharps, shoot from the hip sharp. Light sharps, bright sharp, boogie through the night sharps. Big sharps, anything you see sharps.
Sharp Video. From sharp minds come sharp products.
Next, it's an all-new special with dozens of stars performing death-defying acts, astounding feats of great skill, and riotous comedy stunts galore. It's a very exciting array of celebrity entertainment on the all-new 9th Annual Circus of the Stars. Next.
Want to catch their faces as they open their gifts? Then you better ask them for the Kodak disc. You better ask them for the Kodak disc, so you can take pictures as easy as this. Look at all the shots you're not gonna miss when you ask them for the Kodak disc. The Kodak disc camera is easy to load, advances automatically, and has a built-in flash. You think Santa's gonna bring you a gift that's easier and more fun than that? Ho, ho, ho! So this you think quick when you write to St. Nick. Better ask them for the Kodak disc.
NBC Monday Night at the Movies returns following these messages.
Wednesday on The Facts of Life, when Blair takes Joe to court, will it end their friendship?
I can't believe you subpoenaed me.
And on It's Your Move, Norm leaves Matt with a devious babysitter.
Nice to see you up on your hind legs.
But Matt's got a secret weapon. Then on St. Elsewhere, when a patient's wife catches Ehrlich's eye, will he maintain the proper bedside manner?
Wednesday. If you're looking at video cassette recorders and you're confused by all your choices, just look at the most important feature of all. The picture. And Sony Betamax records a sharper picture than VHS. That's not just our opinion. In tests throughout the country, more people said the picture was sharper with Sony Betamax than VHS. So how many choices do you really have? Only one. Sony Betamax, a sharper picture.
All right, we've taken care of the sponsors now. Everybody's happy. Sharp Electronics, they're happy. The Kodak company, well, they're not so happy. But is Kodak still around in any form? I think they may have just kind of sold off the name, and you can see Kodak on a bunch of things. But the Eastman Kodak company, I'm not sure they're still around. So here's the deal. We need you all to type in hashtag RetroFan into the chat, just like you can see right there. That's the way you do it. What's up for grabs tonight is the July 2022 edition of RetroFan with the lovely, I'll even say it perfect, Julie Newmar. There's other great articles in here. If you're a fan of the Monkees, there's a wonderful article on the Monkey Mobile. If you're a fan of Filmation and their animation that they did during the 60s, 70s, and up into the 80s, well, then they've got a great article on the Tarzan cartoon they did on CBS. And just so much fun. This is a great magazine. I love Remind Magazine, but this magazine really takes a deep dive into geekiness, and that's where this magazine excels. And it's not cheap. It's costs $10.95 an issue. So this is, getting them to send this to one of lucky community member tonight is a big deal. And I appreciate the folks over at Tomorrow's Publishing for partnering with me and allowing us to do that. We've got 35 people in so far. I'm going to read a couple more comments while I wait for folks to show, or for a few more people to be in the drawing. I thought I saw a comment. I'm going to scroll back up. Start it so we can see it here. Martha Welch says, is there a way to support with money other than by PayPal? I really don't know. I mean, what YouTube has is I think you pay through PayPal or just through credit card. But I get it. I understand being hesitant to use credit cards over the internet. And if you don't feel comfortable with it, I would just say the best way to support is just to hang out with us and be part of the community and watch the videos. That is another great way to support the channel, and don't feel bad if you can't do something monetarily or if you're nervous about that. I totally get it. John W. says, oh my goodness, I had a Kodak disc. As did I, John. What did you think about the picture quality? I still remember being disappointed. They were, such tiny negatives that when they were expanded out to print size, even like a 4x6, they were kind of grainy. And Rocket Man says Jane Seymour is so beautiful. She is. She was great in Battlestar Galactica, by the way, as Serena. And I loved her in Somewhere in Time. All right, what do we got? 45, is that what I see? 46? I think we can pull the trigger. So I'm going to do a countdown for any last people that want to get their entry in. And I'm going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Clicking on the draw button. Who's our winner tonight? Who is our winner tonight? Nick Mamonis. Nick Mamonis, congratulations. Nick's a frequent attender. Is that a word? Attendee of these live streams. Always great to have him part of the community. And I'm tickled that you were able to win the magazine tonight, Nick. Here's what you need to do. You may have seen this drill play out a time or two before. Here's my email address. Go ahead and shoot me a message with your, I suppose that's your name, but confirm that for me. And then give me a physical address. It can be a P.O. box where you want that magazine sent to. And I will pass that on to the fine people over at Tomorrow's Publishing. And I think they're scheduled to send that out in about a couple of weeks. So hold tight. It won't be immediate, but it will arrive in your mailbox. I promise you. And if it doesn't, let me know. But it will. Okay. All right. Congratulations to you, Nick. That is phenomenal. I'm going to take that off the screen. And I'm going to take this off the screen. And while we're playing the trivia tonight, let me put this on the screen. Let's do this little scroll here. This is what we're all about, talking about music, movies, and mostly TV from decades gone by. I am your host, Dave Sundstrom. Thanks for joining me. If you missed any of the earlier conversation about 70s and 80s sci-fi TV shows, the replay will be available on the channel immediately after this live stream ends. So don't hesitate to go back and watch the replay. I like to watch the replay, and there's so much that I miss on the chat I'm panicking, Danny. I saw this emoji-filled laden post or message of yours in the chat that's blocked by YouTube automatically. I've unblocked it, by the way, just because I know you were disappointed not to win. But that one, I thought for a minute we had another bot. Anyway, I'm rambling, and we have trivia to do. So let's get the trivia going here. Let me add this to the stream. All right. What we'll do is what we always do. I'll probably go 3 questions, and I want to get an update on how everybody's doing with the questions. The first 5 questions tonight, first 5 questions are V-related. So put on your V thinking caps, think back to that mini-series, and let's see how you do. All right. Here we go. Question number 1. What is the name of the character played by Mark Singer? Was his name Dirk Benedict, Kyle Cooper, Mike Donovan, or Richard Green? And you can go ahead and put, if you think you know the answer, you can put it. It's always fine to put it in the chat if you want, or if you just want to kind of lock it in your noggin, that's fine as well. I'll give folks about 30 seconds before we share the correct answer, but I suspect many folks are going to get these questions right. I didn't make them too hard. But yes, what is the name of the character played by Mark Singer? Is it Dirk Benedict, Kyle Cooper, Mike Donovan, or Richard Green? And the correct answer is Mike Donovan. All right, moving on to question number 2. How many motherships come to Earth? This is a harder question. 40, 50, 70, or 100? This is one of those where, folks, I would just kind of try. I don't know if I'd count on anybody in the chat to give the right answer. They may not. But I do think this is a significantly hard question, and hopefully many of you will get it correct. How many motherships come to Earth? 40, 50, 70, or 100? And the correct answer is, hang on one second. Correct answer is 50. One more, and then we'll get an update on scores. Who did the visitors arrange to make their first contact? Is it the mayor of New York, the director of NASA, the UN Secretary General, or the President of the United States? Again, who did the visitors arrange to make their first contact? The mayor of New York, the director of NASA, the UN Secretary General, or the President of the United States. Okay. Give folks about 5 more seconds and we're going to move along. The correct answer is 3, 2, 1. The UN Secretary General. All right. Let's see some scores, folks. I think that one might have thrown some folks for a loop. Let me see what we got here. While we're waiting for folks to put their scores in, it is important to mention Dominic Dunn was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. She was in Poltergeist. I don't know if you remember in Poltergeist, but she was supposed to be in V. She'd filmed all her scenes for the miniseries, and then she was murdered. They went back and refilmed her scenes. There are, I think, a couple of scenes where you can just catch like the back of her. She's still in it, but otherwise they were, out of respect for her, they removed her from the series. Very sad story. Okay, here we go. Let's see some scores here. Superfan Kevin Davis is 3 for 3. Superfan Superplex 0 for 3. John Stemmer 1 for 3. Mike Silva must have joined us late 1 for 1. But Superfan Butch Hump is 2 for 3. Dave Thomas 2 for 3. Kenneth Wilkinson 2 of 3. John H says 1 of 3. Should have gone with my first guess on the last one. Yeah. Superfan Mike D says 1 of 3. Custom God 1 of 3. Shannon Burns 1 of 2. Hang on 1 second. Think heavens for mute buttons, huh? Superfan Emily Miller says, I suck tonight 1 of 3. Nick Mamonis, the winner of Retro Fan Magazine, tonight 2 of 3. Al Oduwardi 1 of 3. Let's see. Dave Kerbo 2 out of 3. One dude's got a goose egg so far. John H. didn't ever watch V. Karen Lester is 2 of 3. Tom. The Hungry Jerk is 2 of 3. Tom McCluskey. Let's see. Mike Silva says, I haven't seen V in a while. You know, I want to go back and watch the miniseries again, too. Tubi has the series on, but they don't have the miniseries. Superfan Miles High says 1 of 3. Let's see. Superplex says, Jill, you're a little bit behind. She might be watching some of it on replay. Or if you hit the pause button, you can fall behind. It happens. Thresh Pondo says 1 of 3. Mr. Led 1 of 3. You can't be 4 of 5 yet, Christopher Rogers. Unless you're giving yourself bonus points for something, which I understand if you want to. Totally fine. Spaceman Matt's Sci-Fi blog, 2 of 3. Hey, Spaceman Matt, good to have you here. Enjoy your channel. Let's see. Rocket Man's lost track already after just 3. Ed Myers, 3 of 3. Superfan Jill Carter, that must be an answer for something. Because she's not 4 yet. The birthday girl, though. So if she wants to be 4, she can be 4. 2 of 3 for James Dye, our cash bringer. 2 of 3, Jack Fleming fan. 2 of 3, Sakina McMurrin says, it's been almost 40 years, Sundstrom. Come on, 1 of 3. Bruce Fye says, I got 1. Mike Donovan, that was the easy one. Jill Carter, there we go. We've caught her up. 2 of 3. Okay, Tom Lemery, 0 of 3. Christopher Rogers, 2 of 3. Superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says, never watched V. John W. says 2 of 3. Yes, silent coughing is the best. Thank heavens for a mute button. 2 of 3 for Tom. Mike Silva, 1 of 1. Okay. Rocket Man, 2 of 3. And yes, Tubi is a classic place to watch, a great place to watch classic shows. Yeah, anytime, my friend. Anytime, Spaceman Matt. Okay, Jessica Lester's 2 of 3. Resler 63 is 3 of 3. I think we're caught up. So let's keep moving. We'll get scores in a little bit. Moving on to question number 4. When Mike Donovan sneaks onto the mothership, what does he learn about the visitors? Does he learn that they're friendly? Does he discover that they are actually just holographs? They aren't even there. Does he discover that they're reptiles? Or does he learn that they like to eat reptiles? What fact does Mike Donovan discover on the mothership? They're friendly, they're holographs, they're reptiles, or they eat reptiles. Go ahead and lock your answer in your noggin or in the chat. I'll give folks another 15 seconds or so. This is kind of like the Mike Donovan question. I think this one's fairly easy. I think a lot of folks are going to get it, and I'm happy that you do. Tickled, in fact. Oh, while we're doing that, I think I'm going to take the banner off. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. Hey, if you stick around tonight after the live stream, I will be showing my interview with Mark Scott Zekri. He's a good feller. And it was a fun conversation, but we'll do that for the post show. I might even show a video before that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but definitely we're going to do that Mark Scott Zekri interview. Okay, and the correct answer is they are reptiles. Moving on to question number 5, our final V question for the night. What are the visitors actually here to collect? Oil and rodents, water and rodents, oil and human, or oil and humans, or water and humans. What do the visitors want? Oil and rodents, water and rodents, oil and humans, or water and humans. All right, that is our final V question for the evening. And if you've never seen the miniseries and it's kind of spoiled for you as we're doing the trivia, my sincerest of apologies. But it has been 40 years. I don't know how much you can hang on to that whole spoiler thing. So let's go 10 seconds and then we'll share the answer. And then we'll move on to our non-V related sci-fi questions. But you know what? We've done the 5 V questions. So let's get scores. That feels like the right thing to do. Correct answer is water and humans. I see that most of you got it. Good work, everyone. Excellent work. Like it's been mentioned, it's been a long time since that show was on television. And many of us are going off memory. Many of us are going off memory. Okay, let's see some scores here before we move on. I'm going to take that off the screen, but I want to see some scores. And starting with John H., we got 3 of 5. Superfan Miles High, 3 of 5. Superfan Kevin Davis, rocking it tonight, 5 of 5. This is a topic that he does truly love. I can see it. Let's see. David Thomas is 4 of 5. Mike Silva, 4 of 4. Superfan Superplex is 2 of 5. Superfan Emily Miller coming back strong, 3 of 5. Superfan Mike D, 3 of 5. Christopher Rogers, 4 of 5. One dude has got a deuce so far. Let's see. John Stemmers, 3 of 5. Reed Cashbringer, or R.I. Cashbringer, is 4 of 5. Jessica Lester's 3 of 5. I'm scrolling back up to get those. Thrash Pondo, my buddy Thrash Pondo Pons, 3 of 5. Kenneth Wilkinson, 4 of 5. Danny Staten's rocking tonight. He's got 5 of 5, of course. Tom McCluskey, 4 of 5. Superfan Jill Carter, the birthday girl, 4 of 5. Mike Silva, 4 of 4. Al Oduardi, 2 of 5. Custom God, 3 of 5. Superfan Butch Shump, 4 of 5. Karen Lester, 4 of 5. Yes, correct. James Dye, 4 of 5. Jack Fleming, 4 of 5. Rocketman, 4 of 5. Mr. Led, 3 of 5. Sakina McMurrin, 3 of 5. Nick Mamonis, 4 of 5. Tom Lemery, 2 of 5. Thanks for the reminder, everybody. Yes, everybody hit that thumbs up, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Spaceman Matt, 4 of 5. Bruce Fay, 3 of 5. Gary Carpenter's got 2 so far. Rick Ashbringer, so Rick. It's going to be hard for me to remember Rick, though. Oh, I see. Rick Ashbringer. It's your name. Okay, got it. I think I can remember that. Okay, let's see. Robot B9 says, sad that Battlestar Galactica got turned into Galactica in 1980. Indeed, it is. You're very welcome, Jill. I hope you had a good birthday. Yeah, second bad season for sure. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to our final questions. We're going to go lightning round, all 5 questions, and we'll get final scores. Here we go. Which actor did not reprise his role in, is it reprise or reprise? I never know. Which actor did not return in the animated version of Star Trek? Was it DeForest Kelley, James Doohan, George Takei, or Walter Koenig? Again, which actor did not return for the animated version of Star Trek? Was it DeForest Kelley, James Doohan, George Takei, or Walter Koenig? All right, we'll give folks about 10 seconds. Like I said, this is going to be a lightning round. We're going to zip right through these. I'd like to wrap this part of the live stream up. Well, wrap the live stream up by the 90-minute mark. So, I'd love to do that in the next 10, 15 minutes. We'll see. When I say 90 minutes, that's including our pre-show. So anyway, the correct answer is Walter Koenig. Let's keep moving. Question 7. On Battlestar Galactica, what was the name of Apollo's wife? I mentioned it earlier, but Athena, Cassiopeia. I always say that wrong. Is it Cassiopeia? I think that's the way you do it. Jane or Serena? Again, on Battlestar Galactica, what was the name of Apollo's wife? Athena, Cassiopeia, Jane or Serena? I shouldn't have put that in there. First off, it's not Cassiopeia, and I can't pronounce it, so I should never have put that one in there. So, sorry, Mike Silva. That is not correct. All right, correct answer is Serena was her name. Moving on, question number 8. Who played Bigfoot first on the $6 Million Man? This is as easy as it comes for my buddy Danny Staten. Was it Andre the Giant, Lou Ferrigno, Ray Young, or Ted Cassidy? Again, who played Bigfoot first? That's the important thing to remember here. On the $6 Million Man, was it Andre the Giant, Lou Ferrigno, Ray Young, or Ted Cassidy? We'll give folks about 10 more seconds, and then I'm going to zip right through and give the answer. Lots of folks hopefully just lock in these answers in your noggin. You may not have time to enter them all into the chat. The correct answer is Andre the Giant. We'll be talking about him, I suspect, next week, Danny Staten and I, during my live stream, which will be on Wednesday. Question 9. On Buck Rogers, who is Princess Ardala, the daughter of Darth Vader, Emperor Draco, Gorgo the Magnificent, or Ming the Merciless? Again, on Buck Rogers, who is Princess Ardala, the daughter of? If you know what race she is, this is a pretty easy one. But is it Darth Vader, Emperor Draco, Gorgo the Magnificent, or Ming the Merciless? I'm just going to give folks, again, about 10 seconds, and we're going to zip through to the final question of the evening. So just lock that answer in your noggin. We're moving on, folks. The correct answer is Draco. She is a Draconian. All right, question 10 on The Greatest American Hero. And I saw someone comment that Faye Grant was in, she was Rhonda on The Greatest American Hero. Yes, that was her as well. On The Greatest American Hero, what device did the aliens use to contact Ralph? Was it a cell phone, a computer, a pager, or a radio? On The Greatest American Hero, what device did the aliens use to contact Ralph? A cell phone, computer, a pager, or a radio? 10 seconds, folks. Lock in your answer. We are going to keep moving, and I'm going to get final scores in 3, 2, 1. Correct answer is a radio. The car radio is how the aliens communicated with Ralph and Agent Bill Maxwell. All right, let me know how you did in the comment section, folks. Thresh Pondopon, legendary Thresh Pondopons, 8 of 10. Butch Shump, superfan Butch Shump, is 9 of 10. Great score, Butch. Superfan Miles High, 6 of 10. Superfan Superplex, 5 of 10. Rick Ashbringer, 7 of 10. And let's see. Custom God is 8 of 10. Spaceman Matt, 6 of 10. Dave Thomas, 8 of 10. Jessica Lester, 4 of 10. Mike Silva, 9 of 10. Superfan Mike D, 8 of 10. Karen Lester, 7 of 10. Ken Wilkinson, 8 of 10. Kevin Davis, rocking it tonight. Superfan Kevin Davis with 10 of 10. John W., 8 of 10. Tom Lemery, 6 of 10. Superfan Emily Miller, 6 of 10. Very respectable, Emily. And thank you for the suggestion on V. Matt Sweeney, 9 of 10. Mr. Led, 5 of 10. One Dude got Trace, 3. And Superfan Jill Carter got 9 of 10. Al Duarte got 50% accuracy, 100% fun. I love that. Nick Mamonis, 8 of 10. Superfan Tracy Rothmeyer says, I stunk this one up. That's all good. Did you have fun? That's the important thing. John H., 5 of 10. Let's see. Yes, that last question did show up on a prior live stream. Mike Silva, 9 of 10. Chris Rogers, 9 of 10. Jack Fleming fan, 7 of 10. Tom McCloskey, 9 of 10. Sakina McMurran, Sakina, 6 of 10. James Dye, 8 of 10. Gary Carpenter, 4 of 5. Bruce Fay, 5 of 10. I love the virtual hugs. Thanks for that, Jessica Lester. We all need virtual hugs these days. We all need a virtual hug or a real hug every now and again. You know what? We have some days, every once in a while we have an off day, Matt. Don't stress. It was great having you here hanging out with us. Mike Silva says, if this was Jerry Anderson, I would have 10 out of 10. All right. Well, we'll remember that for when we do our Jerry Anderson trivia. And John H. says, I think I could go 10 of 10 on Brady Bunch trivia. We'll have that down the road too. And Nick Momona says, happy birthday, Jill. Absolutely. Jill Carter, great to have you with us, hanging out with us on your birthday. And I think that's good. I think that's it for scores. So I'm going to go ahead and take the trivia off the screen. There we are. Sorry to do that. You go from Cylon to this mug. But a couple things that let me just kind of cover real quick. Again, a reminder that next week, my live stream will be on Wednesday, and that is so that my buddy Pat McCormick can bring you Jerry Mathers on Thursday evening at this scheduled time. So hopefully you'll join us. I'll be in the chat with you guys and just grooving as Pat visits with Jerry. It'll be awesome. Again, congratulations to Nick Mamonis, winning Retro Fan tonight. Don't forget to send me that email address. And you know what, folks? Let me get to a couple more comments. I thought I saw another hug. I got a hug from Sakina as well. Thanks so much, Sakina. And what a great community this is. I'm just going to scroll through some of the comments here. I'm not going to read them, but it's just fun. You guys are great. And it's so much fun to be part of this community. It's what makes putting together the videos, publishing the videos, just reading everybody's comments and then having you all show up for the live streams makes it all worthwhile. Thanks to everybody for the super chats tonight. Truly appreciated. That's great. And what I would say, I do have a parting thought, which is just, you know what? We live in hectic times, chaotic times. There is a reason why I try to veer away from religion and politics on this channel, because, it's just, we've become very divisive as a nation. And I believe that even if we differ, even if we have differing opinions, differing perspectives on things, there's still an opportunity to be kind and remind. That's what this channel is all about, is memories, right? And we watch these old-time TV shows, and we see a time when people were civil with each other, regardless of what their political ideology is or their religious beliefs. They were just good to each other. And we need to remember that. And we need to have hope that we can once again return to that kind of era. It's going to be hard and it's going to be difficult, and it's never going to be exactly like it once was. Part of the problem with that is our memories tend to, they tend to, it's rose-colored glasses. But what we can be is we can be kind to each other. And so I would ask you all to, as we end this live stream tonight, to remember to be kind and remind folks that we do have that capability, that innate capability as human beings to, if not completely agree with each other on certain things, we do have the ability to work hard to understand different perspectives. We all come from different backgrounds, different places, and because of that, we're different people. That's why, there's so many different shows that we like. Some of us think that Star Trek: The Next Generation is the best thing that came out of the 80s, and there are other folks that say Quantum Leap. The 70s, there's the argument about Battlestar Galactica, Space 1999, Buck Rogers, or half dozen other shows. They're all great, and they're all special to us in unique ways. But be kind to each other, folks, and remember that we have this capability to be kind to each other. All right, I'm rambling now. Thanks, everybody. It's been a great evening. Truly appreciate all of the comments tonight. The engagement's been absolutely fantastic. Stick around. I've got the post show, the after party with Mark Scott Secree, and I'll be back next week on Wednesday again. And thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Guest, I was able to connect through Sikri, and Mark is someone, while the name might not immediately be recognizable to you, maybe it is, but you know his work. Mark has he started out in animation, children's animation, and writing scripts, and graduated to the big times. And I definitely mean big league when we talk about shows like Star Trek, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5, a host of, if you're a fan of sci-fi, you have definitely seen this guy's work. He's also got a YouTube channel. We'll probably talk a little bit about that as well, where he is known affectionately as Mr. Sci-Fi. And he's also got one of the coolest backgrounds. I have a crappy virtual background. He's got one of the coolest backgrounds I've ever seen, just in a wonderful, cool library there, and all those great figures. Holy cow, you could spend hours just kind of figuring out what everything is going on there. Happy to have you here, Mark. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Dave. I'm really happy to be here. And just to let you know, I switch it up quite often. So if one studies the background behind me as I'm doing various videos, you'll see I might focus on Arthur C. Clarke or Heinlein or you name it. You never know what's going to pop up. It's really fun.
That is awesome. And that's half the fun of having all those great things, is just kind of moving them around and shuffling them. I've got over here off screen, I've got a bookshelf with a few cherished knicknacks myself.
Yes.
No point in moving them around, though. I don't have quite the collection you do.
Absolutely.
The first question I have for you, given your extensive resume, and I realize that you could change your answer tomorrow. I'm not going to hold you to it, but right now, as we talk, Mark, is there a favorite TV show that you wrote for?
Well, the one I'm doing right now, Space Command, is the one that's my most favorite because it's the one that I'm writing, producing, directing, creating at my own studio. So that's really fun. But obviously, Far Beyond the Stars on Deep Space Nine, I'm very proud of. The Sliders episodes I did, and I produced the 4th season of that. And then I did a Star Trek New Voyages episode with George Takei and Christina Moses, where I again co-wrote it and directed it and executive produced it. So it's basically, I just love the world of science fiction. Star Trek and Twilight Zone and Outer Limits, the original versions of those, were what made me want to be a writer in the first place. And to be able to not only be inspired by that, but then go on to be mentored by those writers and then go on to make more recent iterations of those shows and work with my heroes. It's a dream come true, and it's still going. I mean, I sold my first short story when I was 19. I was writing The Twilight Zone Companion when I was 21 or 22. And I was writing for television by the time I was 22 or 23 with, Smurfs, He-Man, Super Friends, Real Ghostbusters, and then jumped over to live action with Star Trek The Next Generation and Captain Power and all that stuff. So, yeah, really fun.
The rest is history. And I neglected to mention the delightful compendium that you put together in terms of the Twilight Zone Companion. I actually have that book somewhere in my collection, and we moved a couple of years ago, and it still may be in a box, but I have that book. So it's kind of cool that I'm talking to the individual that's responsible for putting that together.
Well, it's funny because I just did the third edition, the new edition of the book, and I added 100 pages of material and 500 new photos and links to
Wow.
audio and video rarities. Because when I finished the book, it came out initially in 1982, so many people kept telling me stories about the Twilight Zone or about Rod Serling. I wanted to update it, but also stuff that you had to go to a university archive to watch on a 16 millimeter print on a moviola back when I started the book and when I started writing it in 77. Now you can just go onto the internet to YouTube or whatever, and it's right there. I mean, Carol for Another Christmas, which was a Rod Serling Christmas special that he wrote in 1964, that again, before this, you wouldn't be able to see it anywhere. It's on HBO as a Christmas special this year, and that's from 1964. I mean, amazing. So I wanted people to have access to all the cool stuff that I got to check out when I was, writing the book initially.
I never imagined the amount of information that would be available to us now. And I think it's a little bit of a blessing and a curse. I think sometimes there's so much coming at us that it's hard to focus on just a thing.
Yeah, well, I just wrote a new book called Greenlighting Yourself that's coming out in the next few months, and it's about how you can have a career as a writer, director, actor, producer without the studios or networks having to wave their magic wand. So basically liberate people. But one of the chapters I have is having a life. Because in addition to because as you say, we're so inundated by content that it's important to remember, hey, you can have friends, you can have a wife, you can have kids, you can have a dog, you can, travel to real places. And it's not to say that we shouldn't be watching movies and TV, of course, or reading books, but you also want to make sure that you're taking a breath and kind of, stepping out of virtual reality into real reality every now and then.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like an exciting book. I'll have to check that one out as well.
It was fun.
Might be helpful for me as I try to grow my little YouTube channel.
Yes.
I know you were aware of this because I saw a video on YouTube, but I thought I had a real nugget, a great question to ask you. But I know you already know about this, but you are aware, right, that you had a supervillain named after you in the Super Friends?
Yes. And there's also a character named after me, I think, in one of the Star Trek novels. Because I came up in TV and in books with a group of I was in my 20s and so forth, early 20s, and we were all a group of people writing for many of the same shows, writing books at the same time. And so my friend Michael Reeves and I both were writing for Super Friends. Michael's the writer who brought me into television initially. I met him. He was a teaching assistant in Theodore Sturgeon's writing class at UCLA. So I took that class. Ted became a friend and mentor, and Michael Reeves became a very dear friend. And so, he named a villain after me. And that's terrific. Of course, I created Kryptonian, and I think every now and then I would give a little tip of the hat to some of my friends. And now in Space Command, I name all the Space Command personnel after classic science fiction writers. So we've got Cadet Bradbury and Lieutenant Sturgeon and on, because my thought is that all these great science fiction writers that I grew up reading, if there's an Easter egg in Space Command that leads someone out of curiosity to check out the writing of these terrific writers, Clifford D. Simak and so forth, all the better. So I'm continuing the tradition.
Love it. Totally agree. And I think that's just a fun little Easter egg.
Yes.
Was unaware of the Star Trek. So you have a Star Trek character named after you as well?
I think Mel Gilden, my friend Mel Gilden, who was also writing Smurfs and other shows, I think he put me in as like a Lieutenant Zikri or but I'm in a Star Trek novel he wrote, and I think Barbara Hambly put me in as a character in one of her novels, one of her fantasy novels or horror novels. So yeah, because we all used to hang out. We used to have something called the Rubber Ears Club, where we'd meet like once a month, and it was all the Star Trek writers. So it was like, but both television writers and novelists. So Barbara Hambly was in it, Vonda McIntyre was in it, Mel Gilden,
wow,
Garfield and Judith Reeves Stevens. So it was like, and it was the Rubber Ears Club because of Spock. Rubber Ears Club, and so we were all very much, it was almost like a party that was ongoing. And so as we were just loving what we were able to write for the different, because all of us had grown up with Star Trek, and so it's super fun to be able to write in those universes.
That is very, very cool. Now, I happen to notice as I was watching Space Command, the first hour, which is on YouTube, I will post a link, by the way, to Mark's channel if I haven't already said that, but I'm also going to post a link to the first hour of Space Command.
Yeah.
Is that you in the first, the cool,
Yes.
the guy that makes the comment, something like, hey, cool,
Yes.
or something?
Yes. Yeah, my line is wow, because it's amazing crash landing that I witnessed. I'm in a spacesuit. I'm by a terraforming station on Mars.
Right.
And the story with that is when I was 12 years old, there was a company called the Western Costume, and it was the big costume company that rented costumes to all of Hollywood studios. They were not open to the public. And one day when I was 12, they had a sale that was open to the public. And my mother took me, and there was a real spacesuit there. And it had been used in Twilight Zone, it had been used in a lot of things, but it was an actual Navy high altitude suit, the helmet, the suit, the boots, everything. And my mom bought it for me for $25, which is astonishing. It'd be worth thousands now. And so I figured that I should have, like Hitchcock had his cameos, I would have my cameo where I'd be in my spacesuit and I would say, wow, as I watch our hero crash land a spaceship. And the funny part was that later on we were shooting a battle on Titan between combat synthetic humans.
Right, yeah.
Replicants and human freedom fighters. And the day that we were shooting it, one of the people didn't show up, and all the humans would wear spacesuits. The combat synthetics, not needing to breathe, wouldn't have to have spacesuits. But someone didn't show up, and I said, well, I'll put on a spacesuit, and I'll say, but the requirement is I have to be blown up. I have to be hit by a laser and go, ah! So then I was approached by an anthology to write a short story sort of set in the Space Command universe. And I had the idea that it'd be very funny to link those two cameos as though it was one character, and then end with it having us, because we end a certain part of the story where we're seeing a statue of our hero, Captain Kemmer. And I thought it'd be very funny if in the statue garden just behind him, you'd see a statue of me as that character. I wrote a short story called Grizzled Space Jockey. And it's actually on Mr. Sci-Fi. You can actually, I read the entire short story on Mr. Sci-Fi, so you can actually check it out. But that was really, really fun. And I'm sure I'll continue that tradition.
Yeah, I thought that was you. I thought that, yeah, he's having his Hitchcock moment right there. That's awesome. Love it. So I've got in my community on my YouTube channel, I've got a handful of comic book fans such as myself. So given that you did write for the Super Friends, I've got to pin you down. DC or Marvel?
For me, it was DC.
Me too. Grew up with DC comics. Loved.
Because Marvel never ended its stories. They just kept going.
Going,
and it drove me crazy as a kid.
Yeah, and there was something about that. Just the Superman and Batman for me. Obviously, I love the Justice League and
Green Lantern.
That kind of Green Lantern, Green Arrow, all of them. The Flash. So, favorite comic book character? Do you have one?
Yes, I do actually. Interesting enough, my favorite comic book is Magnus Robot Fighter, as drawn by Russ Manning. It was a Gold Key comic, and it's just.
I remember it. Yeah, that was.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was that Gold Key Comics. Yeah. I got them in 3-packs back in the 70s. There would be like a Star Trek issue, a Twilight Zone issue, and like something else, like a Magnus Robot Fighter.
Yeah. But I have the entire run, the original run of Magnus, and I just loved it. When Russ Manning stopped doing it, it became totally awful. But for that brief period, and they had painted covers of their heroes, which were very dramatic and cool looking, and I just loved that. I mean, obviously, I was collecting as a kid. I was collecting a lot of comics, and when they announced that they were going to do a comic book that was a race between Superman and the Flash, I actually drew at about age 8. I drew my own comic book of the Flash racing Superman before the issue came out. And I remember the last illustration was the two of them running at super speed, and both of them having the same thought balloon, which is, I hope I win.
So I remember that because that was in a big oversized DC comic book that they sold. They were selling those in the 70s, these oversized comics that if you didn't have a really good comic book shop, you had to order away for them. I didn't ever get that issue. Who won? Do you recall?
I don't remember. That's funny. I think it was the Flash, but I really can't be held to that. I think they had a rematch also. But I must say that all of us who are writing cartoons, we grew up reading and loving comics, and so for me, writing Superman, writing the Green Lantern, all these great characters for Super Friends was just a thrill. It was something I never expected to do. I didn't intend to be a writer for animation. My goal was to be a writer producer doing things like Star Trek, and but when Michael Reeves invited me into television to write for the cartoons, the animation, I saw that was my way in. And I learned my craft. It was a very good training ground, and I'm really glad that I got to be there during that sort of strange golden age of 70s, 80s animation. It was a lot of fun.
A really wonderful time. You've done so much.
Yeah.
And I hate to pin you down on one thing, but I've got Mr. Sci-Fi with me right here. So what accomplishment are you, most proud of?
Well, I'm very lucky because my heroes were not one-hit wonders. They were guys who were creating a consistent, amazing body of work. Rod Serling, Ray Bradbury, those, Harlan Ellison. These were amazing, amazing talents who you could say, okay, with Ray, for instance, who became a dear friend in the later years of his life, you could say, okay, we've got the Martian Chronicles, Fahrenheit 451, Something Wicked This Way Comes, the astonishing breadth of his short stories, or Gene Roddenberry, or any of these people. It was like, so for me, having a career that starts with the Twilight Zone companion, and now, some 40 years later or so, I have my own studio, and I'm making 6 series now with, I have the first one of Space Command, but I'm also doing something called the Showrunners Network, where I'm creating 5 more series with the creators of The Expanse, Farscape, Defiance, on, and a new Rod Serling series. I'm just really thrilled at the entire body of work. I'm very honored and very lucky, and I think I've pulled many a rabbit out of a hat one way or another.
Rod Serling, of course, my community loves the Twilight Zone, and of course, even Night Gallery. It was less hands-on, but he wrote some of the scripts for Night Gallery. Speaking of Rod Serling, you say there's a new project.
Yes.
You teased a little bit. Can you share a little bit more? How much can you share about that? Because they're going to love hearing about it.
Sure, and it's something that I'm in negotiations now with the Serling family and their representative. But of course, I've known Jody and Ann Serling, Rod's 2 daughters, since I was in my early 20s. So like we've had this amazing journey of our lives, together. And I just saw them. I was the guest of honor at the Serling Fest in Rod's hometown of Binghamton, and got to have meals with both of them. And I've been talking extensively with the agents as well, who I've also known for many decades. So the basic idea was this. It's called Rod Serling's After Twilight. And Rod dictated everything he wrote from 1957 on. So scripts, letters, speeches, everything. He would lounge by the pool in the morning and just dictate into a recorder, and then his secretary Marge would type it up, and that's how he did things. And then he'd make hand corrections. So it was thought that all of these recordings were lost, and they recently found 1,000 of them.
Wow!
And so my idea was to take Serling scripts that either hadn't been seen since the live days of TV or hadn't been made ever, and shoot some of these scripts with Rod narrating it from that lost material. Oh, wow. And so Rod would actually be the narrator, as well as, and we'll have scripts by other people as well, Matheson, Beaumont, George Clayton Johnson, maybe some of the new crop like Neil Gaiman or, whomever, but it would be a new show that really pays attention to what a giant of television writing Rod Serling was. And so we'll see if this ends up getting made, but I'm planning on doing it, absolutely, and it's looking very encouraging. I've also brought aboard a producer on that show an executive producer named Joseph Dougherty, who for 7 years he was the executive producer on Pretty Little Liars. He won an Emmy for 30 something. He's been on Judging Amy and many shows. So he's an old pal. And but it's, and also there's a script when they brought Twilight Zone back in the 80s. I wrote a script for them called Knife Through the Veil. It was gonna be directed by Douglas Hayes, who did Eye of the Beholder and The Howling Man and The Invaders and The After Hours. Great director on the original Twilight Zone. And a week before prep, the censors pulled the plug on the script. They said it was too hard-edged. Now it's not hard-edged at all. Wonderful little Twilight Zone script. So that's another one we'd be shooting as well. And but it's just, I've got my own studio. I mean, a physical studio. We have spaceship sets, and we're building 2 8-foot-tall creatures, and we've got 15 spacesuits from various productions. And, it's just, I'm a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
It's Christmas every day. I have no complaints.
What a life. What a life. So let me ask you one more question. Maybe we've already talked about it. If you can elaborate or share something, what's something else? I always like to ask, Ian, what's something cool that you can tell us or share with us right now?
Well, it's really fun to discover things about science fiction that nobody knows about. And, it was funny because when I wrote the Twilight Zone Companion, I was up in Rod Serling's attic, and I discovered there's an unmarked box. This was because I started writing the book 2 years after Rod's death. Everything was exactly as he'd left it in his house in Pacific Palisades. Even his dog was still there. And so I was up in his attic where the scrapbooks were, these big leather volumes of clippings. And there was a box, an unmarked box, and I opened it, and there were scripts for Twilight Zone that had never been made. There were scripts by Matheson, Beaumont, and there were 2 scripts by Ray Bradbury. And there was a handwritten note on top of one of the scripts from Ray Bradbury to Rod saying, "Dear Rod, this is the first of what will be many scripts. I look forward to a very, very fruitful collaboration." And yet Ray Bradbury was only credited with 1 Twilight Zone episode, I Sing the Body Electric. And yet 3 of his proteges made up the core of Rod Serling's writers on the show: Richard Matheson, Charles Beaumont, and George Clayton Johnson. So clearly something had gone awry. And as I was doing the interviews for the book, William F. Nolan and some others were telling me that there had been a break between Rod Serling and Ray Bradbury, but neither of them ever talked about it publicly. So I wrote to Ray Bradbury to interview him when I was, doing the book and in my early 20s. And he wrote me back a letter basically saying he didn't want to talk about Twilight Zone, that his work was the work he'd done would stand, and that was all the comment he wanted to have. So I thought, well, okay, I won't find out about this. So decades later, Ray Bradbury came across something that I'd written that he really loved, and he called me and he said, "You must come to the house." Now, knowing that he had the Twilight Zone was kind of a bitter pill for him, I didn't even mention I'd written the Twilight Zone Companion. So we just were friends, and about once a month I'd go over to his house for over a decade, and we just talk about life and career and all this stuff. And finally, I got to a point of comfort with Ray that I fessed up. I said, "I wrote the Twilight Zone Companion, and I know there was a break between you and Rod. So would you tell me what it was?" And he told me. And so on Mr. Sci-Fi, I basically told the story that Ray told me of how their friendship had disintegrated. And it takes 30 minutes to tell it. So if you go to Mr. Sci-Fi and type in Ray Bradbury, you'll be able to hear this amazing story. But it was like no one had ever been told this story. In other words, there was nowhere you could go in public to find out the details. And it was just amazing. And I was very glad that just through the winds of chance, Ray and I became friends where he felt comfortable telling me that story. And but that was sort of the missing piece when I did the book. And so that was really cool. And and then meantime, I just kind of I've gotten to know so many of my heroes, and I'm continuing to do so. I'm on Sweet Haven, the project I'm doing with Rockneil Bannon, who created Farscape and Defiance and Alien Nation and Cult, and is currently the executive producer of Evil on CBS. We've lined up this amazing cast, of many of my heroes. So it's Robert Picardo, Gates McFadden, Barbara Bain,
Wow.
Veronica Cartwright, Michael Harney from Orange is the New Black and Project Blue Book.
He was in the first episode of Space Command, wasn't he? I thought I saw Harney in there.
Plays our hero's
And
father.
Picardo was in it as well.
Bob Picardo was as well. And so it's just this amazing cast. And James Hong from Blade Runner is in it. And and so I mean, to be able to call Bill Mumy and say, hey, I need an actress. Is there someone you'd like to recommend? He said, well, how about Veronica Cartwright? I'm a huge fan of Alien and The Birds and the Phil Kaufman's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She's great.
Yeah.
And this is a project where it's bioengineered disease kills everyone in the world under 60. And so the people 60 and above have to figure out how to save humanity when they can't reproduce. So, so it's a really fun project. So we've written, Rock and I laid out the show and the pilot, and then Elaine, my wife, and I wrote the pilot script. And we've had 2 table reads so far with our cast via Zoom during the pandemic. And then in the near future, probably at the top of the year, we'll start shooting the pilot. So
wow, very cool.
Cool.
You teased us on the Serling story with Ray Bradbury. I again am going to remind everybody, because I know that you're probably as curious as I am as to what happened there.
Yeah.
That in the description for this video, this interview with Mark, I've got a link to his website. I'll link directly to that particular video so you guys can click on it. I'll make it easy for you. And then I'm also linking to the first hour of Space Command so you guys can all see that, because it's really, really cool.
Thanks. We're about to put out the second hour.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, we're cranking on it. There's in the first 2 hours of Space Command, there's 1,800 visual effects shots, which is insane.
Yeah.
But we've shot 5 hours of the show, and we've done a prequel, and we've also done Grizzled Space Jockey, that short story. But we're rocking and rolling. It's really fun.
You're a busy man, my friend.
Yes.
A busy man. Thank you so much for visiting with me today and allowing me to interview and basically allowing my YouTube community to get to know you. Folks, I encourage you to head on over to Mr. Sci-Fi and check out his channel, because it is really cool. It's full of all sorts of great stories and all sorts of fun things. And plus, it's going to get you excited about Space Command, the stuff that Mark's doing there.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Dave. I really appreciate it. I've had a great time talking with you. And one thing I wanted to say, which is so obvious, is that I love podcasts. I love YouTube and all of these opportunities, because clearly we're doing it for the love of it.
Right.
No cynicism. It's entirely because we are just bedazzled by all these wonders that we've encountered in TV shows and movies and books, and comics, of course. So thank you for being a kindred spirit as well.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks again for reaching out. And I like to call all that stuff the good stuff. That's really what it is. It's the sweet part of life, my friend.
Yes.
Thank you for being one of those that creates that stuff and shares it with all of us.
Yes. Well, I'll leave you with one final thing based on what you just said, which is, my friend and mentor Theodore Sturgeon created what was called Sturgeon's Law. Sturgeon's Law is 90% of everything is crap. So when not long ago, I wrote a book with Guillermo del Toro, and I mentioned this to him, and Guillermo said, well, I'll1 that with del Toro's law, which is the 10% of everything is awesome.
I love it. That's the good stuff.
Yeah. So great. Well, you take care, and
thanks so much, Mark.
Soon. Yeah, take care.
You have a good one.
Thanks.
There we go. All right, let me take that off the screen. I usually don't pop into the after party, but I was really loving that interview, and thanks to everybody for the great comments and the conversation. I didn't get a chance to read it all. I will go back and read the entire chat conversation later on when I rewatch the live stream. I like to do that. And yeah, thanks for everybody pointing out the bots when they show up. Who knows why they're there? Anyway, one last thing, and then I'm going to turn off the lights and power down Command Central here, but we've got I put together a little Starlog slideshow, covers from 70s and 80s science fiction TV shows. Hope you enjoy it. Again, folks, have a great week. Take care.